Hello, and welcome to my thematic tour of Flint's Kearley Park. Kearley Park, located off of Robert T. Longway in Flint, tells us a story. This story is of those who cherish, utilize, and have grown with and alongside the park. Since its conception, Kearley Park has grown, expanded, and changed in its nearly 100-year history. This park has seen its share of renovations, demolitions, use, misuse, celebrations, and tragedy. Alongside the physical aspects of the park, Kearley Park has also seen children, adults, and pets pass through its grounds, play on its fields, and use the park for both fun recreations and not-so-fun occupations. To start off our tour, we will talk about the physical aspects of the park. The land that we call Kearley Park was donated in 1917 by the Windate Pierce Davison Company in Flint. Now, you may have heard of Kearley Street in Flint, but Kearley Park was named after a man named Jonathan Kearley. While not directly impacting Flint, Jonathan ran the land office in Detroit where the paperwork was signed for the land that the park stands upon. However, Mr. Kearley was also a veteran and a mayor of Detroit. The natural features of Kearley Park include many things, such as Gilkey Creek and the amphitheater. Now, Gilkey Creek sounds pretty self-explanatory. It is a creek that runs through the park. This creek was named after an explorer named Levi Gilkey, who was the one to have discovered it in the first place. The amphitheater is not what you might think. This amphitheater is a bowl-shaped hill that lies near the Donnelly Pavilion, which we will talk about later. The amphitheater was a place to sled, watch fireworks, or even to just enjoy the view in front of the park. Amidst the creek and amphitheater, there is also a lot of wood and forested areas throughout the park. Aside from the natural features of Kearley Park, there are several man-made ones too. First of these would be the Donnelly Pavilion I mentioned earlier. This building, now named after a woman who lived near the park, is the first building to greet guests coming to it. Prior to being the Donnelly Pavilion, it was a bathhouse that had a pool attached to it, which was built in the 1920s. The pool was originally built by Wensley Bentz, but was unfortunately taken down due to the cost of upkeep of a pool in Michigan. After the removal of a pool, all that was left was the pavilion. Over the life of the park, more man-made structures began to appear in it, such as baseball, softball, and soccer fields, footbridges over the creek, bike trails, and children's playgrounds. One of the interesting aspects about the children's playground is that it sits where the old pool used to be behind the pavilion. Moving on from the physical aspects of the park, the people of Flint over the years has used this park for many activities since it was dedicated in 1920. In fact, when the park was officially opened on July 25, 1920, there was a play held to celebrate the opening. This play not only told the history of the area, but also the civic growth that had occurred up until 1920, which was modern Flint at the time. Kearley Park also had its own revolution. During the bicentennial celebration in 1976, people spent 3 days living as they did in the early days of our country, which included wearing uniforms, practicing formations, and even firing cannons and muskets. This varies drastically to what was happening in 1981, where the city was facing economic hardship and couldn't keep workers employed. This led to a strike of volunteers from the surrounding neighborhoods by the people that would have gotten paid to complete that work, although the park was littered, vandalized, and in miserable state of disrepair. And again, in 1991, people enjoyed fireworks within the park as an event held by mayor candidate Donald Williamson to promote his efforts in the race for mayor. Now, in the early 2000s, a group under the direction of Kearley would emerge. This group, the Kearley Park Players, based in Kearley Park, bring the joys of Shakespeare to the pavilion. In an interview with Kearley herself, her fondest memory is that of a little girl walking on stage and dancing with the fairies during a Midsummer's Night's Dream, to which the fairies danced her back to her family. So although the park had its ups and downs, the people of Flint and the surrounding neighborhoods have kept the park a mainstay. As visited before, there are many features at Kearley Park. Some have been renovated, restored, changed, or removed completely. One notable place, Safetyville, was a place in Kearley Park where children learned the rules of the road by taking a driving test and earning the privilege to drive in miniature cars in the town limits. Funded and ran by the Industrial Mutual Association since 1963, along with the Flint Parks Board and Genesee County Traffic Safety Commission. This place, once a place of learning and education, eventually became run down, unused due to the lack of funds by 1980, and ultimately tore down by 1994. Aside from Safetyville, there have been other additions to the parks. This includes the softball and baseball fields. These are part of an agreement between Mott Community College and Kearley Park. This partnership allows MCC and the community to enjoy the use of this space. This concludes my thematic tour of Kearley Park. Thank you, and please come again.